Oh, I'm on. I'm on with you right now. Just
Yeah,
you.
you're on right now. You're fading in and out a little bit, but you're on the feet.
Okay. Um, this is my first time doing it right here, so I'm sorry if I'm not very well orchestrated. But
That's fine.
with the appendix carry stuff, um, so like I started appendix carrying about a decade ago, and I just feel like you're being really hard on people who want to appendix carry. And I do get the whole like tactitard uh, thing. I got friends that are really big into the new Gucci or trends or whatever's happening and stuff. But I'm really comfortable with appendix carrying, and I don't necessarily see. I can say that when I first started appendix carrying, I was really worried about it because I knew it wasn't maybe as safe as hip carrying, but I don't feel like it's something that we should necessarily be discouraging. You know what I mean?
Well, do you think it is inherently risky in any way?
Um, for me, I found the riskiest part to be particularly in practicing when you're just out shooting and doing reps and stuff. When you're reholstering, it's something you need to be really diligent and very uh, aware of while you're doing it.
So it's a constant risk when you're out practicing that you have to be aware of.
Well, when I'm reholstering, so when I'm from personal experience, when I'm reholstering on the hip, um, you need to always be aware of where your muzzle's at, what you're doing, where your finger.
But it's more of a concern when you're appendix carrying, correct?
I mean, that's fair. Mentally, it is more of a concern, but
So why would you not encourage people to not take unnecessary risks? I mean, we have to take risks every day of one degree or another, but why would you not encourage people to not take unnecessary risks, especially if there's no real actual gain from it?
oh, so I see a lot of benefits to appendix carrying.
Okay, what are those benefits?
I'm sorry.
What are those benefits?
Oh, so like in my last job when I was driving security and I was a courier driving a vehicle back and forth, and I had just a pistol, not a rifle. Um, and drawing from the appendix position was much more accessible from being in the chair. Now, I guess this is from a professional
Uh,
standpoint.
yeah, and when I was in law enforcement, you weren't allowed to do that. You could cross draw carry in a vehicle if you were someone who was like in a vehicle all the time. And that is actually easier to access while sitting than appendix carrying, and you're more at risk at shooting through your door than you are shooting through your femoral artery.
Yeah, no, I can say that. Yeah, if that was the case, like if I'm currently not in that job anymore, but if like if I were carrying for that job, I would prefer actually, yeah, even a shoulder carry up just under my arm. I would prefer that over
You're,
and on work with a new job. Um, I much prefer appendix carry, and I find one of the biggest benefits for me, Dad was real hard on me initially, which from I guess outside.
you're breaking up real bad for me. I don't know if you're breaking up for everybody else, but what kind of mic are you using?
I'm sorry, I'm just on my iPhone.
Oh, well, get it a little closer to you so it'll maybe hear you better.
It's gonna get shaky for a bit. I got case on. Take that off.
What's he say? What do you
Maybe
do?
that'll help a little bit. But yeah. So switching from outside the waistband carry at 3-4 o'clock position to appendix carry. So when I did carry, yeah. So initially I carried concealed as much as possible. When I started to carry open, because of you mainly for the every second matters. On the second, I always try to open carry. It was my way of kind of desensitizing my small community of, being aware of firearms. My dad was really railing into me. Anyhow, circling back, the benefit of concealed carrying is that it's in front of me. Nobody can come up from behind me to yank it out. I'm not banging it up on stuff. It's always kind of in my purview of what's going on in front of me in my field of view, I guess.
Okay. Well, wouldn't cross draw be the same thing?
Oh yeah, no. I'm not. Yeah. Okay.
But the only point I'm trying to make here is, unless you can say appendix carry does this better than any other type of carry that is much safer, well, then it's not an advantage. It's only an advantage if it does something better than everything else. Because, like I'm saying, sitting cross draw is safer and better. There's just better options, and I would always encourage. Now, like I said, I don't care if someone appendix carries, and if someone, I don't shame someone who appendix carries, especially not if they're honest about why they do it. The problem I have with is people trying to make it seem like it has advantages that it does not have, or that it is safer than it actually is, because it is not safe. All you got to do is look at the news and see how many people die from carrying that way.
Okay.
Do you notice that people die from carrying that way?
I haven't.
You haven't? Well,
I'm not reading as much as you are, maybe.
Okay, you might want to do a Google search about people who shoot themselves while carrying, and you'll find that it's almost always exclusively appendix carry, and they most often die when they do it. There's almost no stories of people shooting themselves carrying on their hip or cross draw. So you are taking a risk of ending your life when there are doing something that there's no reason to do other than you want to, because other carry methods can do the same things even better with less risk. So that's the only point I make to people. Be aware of the risk. Don't try to say the risk doesn't exist to validate your opinion. Say, I carry because I like it. I like the way it conceals. I know it's risky. I know I'm putting myself in danger. Because when you misrepresent the safety of it, or you misrepresent the advantages of it, you get people who don't really know the facts to do something that they shouldn't be doing.
That's fair. But because I mean, you have the knowledge of the context of these situations where people they killed themselves appendix carrying or just injured themselves. Either way, like you said, not safe. I guess I would question what they were doing, what led them to that.
The most recent story that I read, I want to say it was in Ohio. A gentleman was putting his daughter in her car seat. As he bent over, his gun came slightly out of his holster. And as he stood back up, it went off.
Do we know what kind of holster he was using?
Huh?
Do we know what kind of holster he was using?
They didn't mention what holster he was using, but he was using an inside waistband appendix holster. And it popped back down in, went off. I'm betting his shirt or something got in the way, or something like his daughter in. And it went off. He shot himself in the thigh. He died right there next to his daughter in the car seat in a matter of seconds before anybody even knew what the pop was.
Right. Yeah. I heard that in the video earlier, which is absolutely tragic. But I just wonder because I have seen a lot of stories where people are using leather holsters and they tend to warp. And I've had leather holsters myself where with sweat and just wearing them out in the rain and stuff, I'm outside quite a bit and get caught in the rain. They tend to warp and that could get in the trigger guard. But the retention, I mean, that responsibility ultimately, okay, so to your point, yes, it's more risky carrying appendix. But when properly done, it can be done safely.
No, it cannot be done safely. It can be done with lessened risk, but it cannot be done safely. You are never safe if you're flagging your femoral artery with your gun.
No, well, I'm starting to really butt heads now because I feel like someone else at some point, maybe someone in the chat, someone who's listening to this right now could chime in and say, you can't carry a gun safely, period.
That's and right. There's always going to be some risk.
I'm sorry?
Yes, that's right. There's always going to be some risk.
Right. And there's going to be
safer than appendix carry.
Yeah. So there's going to be perhaps an inherent increased risk with appendix carry.
Right. And if you're going to accept an increased risk to your life, I mean, a painful death in the street, possibly, what level of benefit would you have to get to make that risk worth it?
Well, so for me, like I was a first responder for 5 years. I've moved and I've gone away from that, and something that as a first responder was very important was having what you need when you need it, and not having to compromise when you get into that situation. And so, for me, again, I'm 6 foot, 160 pounds. I'm fairly fit. It's easy. It's very easy for me to carry appendix. I've been doing it for over a decade. I've never had anything close to a negligent discharge.
Nobody does until they do.
No, very fair, because I have had negligent discharges before, but not while reholstering appendix carry or on the draw.
Well, let's say you're out and you're having to draw under duress. Are you conceal carrying, or are you just appendix carrying?
Concealed appendix carrying.
Okay, so what's the first thing you have to do to draw that gun?
Well, you would clear garment.
And how do you do that? Is it something you brush to the side, or do you bring it up?
Yeah, so offhand, depending on the situation, assuming we're standing still, squared away, offhand up over the firearm, yeah, and then draw.
Exactly. And if you're under duress and you're doing that really quickly, what could happen to that gun very easily while you're doing that?
That's really speculative. I don't know what you're thinking, but that is speculative.
You don't think that gun, you could do that a little too hard and that gun could be pulled even an inch or two out of the holster?
Regardless of how you're carrying, that could happen. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I've seen people do it all the time at the range. When they're practicing their draws, when they get a fake false draw or something, even when they're in competition, they go to yank their shirt up and they fumble their gun a little bit because they pulled it out of the holster some, because they're nervous, because they're competing. Now, same thing can happen very much when you're in duress, and that's when you have a problem. That's when your gun could go off, and that's not a good thing. I even see these people competing where they go into these things where they draw, they fire 2 rounds, and then they slam it back in their holster. And then they go and they draw again, and they fire 2 more rounds. Yep. And that is so incredibly dangerous. Slamming it back in a holster like that.
Yes, that practice is incredibly dangerous. Yes, I've seen that myself. I have friends who shoot IPSC who have shot. And so to your benefit of not carrying appendix, when they're reholstering it in the side, it goes into the dirt, not into their leg.
Yeah, and I've seen people do that a few times. So
yeah. Again, I've seen that happen. And if you're slamming that in appendix, it's can be dangerous. But I just feel like there are.
We had a person at the quarry over here. We have a gun range that's a quarry, and they were closed for a couple of days because someone shot themselves appendix carrying at that quarry. I've never seen anybody shoot themselves there ever, except for someone who was practicing a draw with an appendix carry holster. They shot themselves. They had to close the range for a couple of days. If they would have been carrying on their hip practicing the draw, they probably would have shot the concrete behind them. So there is a real inherent risk there.
Yeah, but I mean, that being, there was out where I live in Johnston, they have a police academy, and there was a guy who was at a police range, and he shot himself in the head at a range, nothing to do with how he was carrying the gun. It was on a counter. I mean, we could go about
stupid mistake. Yeah. And stupid mistakes happen. You can't even train away brain malfunctions. They happen, especially under stress. Being a psychologist, I can tell people right now, they act like, well, you train, and you'll do everything automatically. That's not how brains work. Period. Most soldiers in the field, even though they've trained, they freeze up or they panic and they fuck up, because that's all you do. There's a saying in the field that when you got new guys with you, they're going to either freeze up or fuck up, because it's the first time they face this type of situation in real life. So I don't want that happening while a gun is pointed at my dick.
Yeah, and to that, I've been doing martial arts for years, and I was in MMA for a long time. And as you train in martial arts, you don't train because a certain situation presents itself. You train for when something fucked up happens. When you drop the ball, someone else drops the ball. That is certainly something that happens in the real world and under duress. But I just feel like the whole like telling people not to, and I know you like, I'm trying to word this properly. You're not against training, but
No,
you
practicing. I like to call it practice, not
yeah,
training, because
but
training implies someone else is having to teach you. I don't know.
yeah, so yeah, that's what I'm saying. Getting good advice from people with experience. I mean, even yourself included when it comes to carrying a pistol, but getting good training from someone who can tell you how to safely carry appendix carry.
You
If
can't
that,
safely carry, but let's quit repeating that, because that's not a reality. You cannot safely carry appendix. You can mitigate the safety to the lowest level, the danger to the lowest level possible. It's like
oh,
space. There's no such thing as zero gravity.
well,
There's
we're
no
just we're just
gravity.
going to disagree on that because there's an inherent risk to carrying. Period.
Yeah, and it's less so than appendix carrying. Even carrying a gun in any place on your body has risk.
Mm, nope. I mean,
It
honestly, if we're going to
has
be,
risk.
if
There's
no,
risk.
you have an unloaded gun with a welded
Well,
firearm.
that's not carrying. That's not really carrying now, is it?
Yeah, well, I mean, now we're
That's
really
like saying if you're carrying an unloaded gun appendix, well, yeah, then you are safe because you have a stapler shoved in your pants or a
right.
hammer.
I'm
But
just saying, you're really kind of nitpicking. We shouldn't
no,
be.
because if you make the mistake of saying you can do something safely, that convinces people that, or especially people who aren't as experienced, that you can take certain measures and remove all risk from this.
Right.
There
People
is no
are
way to do that,
less
period.
experienced, but people can work up to an
To make
experience.
it less, they can try to make it less likely it will happen to them. That you can do. You can, like I said, you can carry guns that have a manual safety. You can carry a single action revolver. All those things would mitigate the
Yeah,
danger, but they don't eliminate it, because even vaqueros have shot themselves while drawing from waistband carry back in the days of the vaqueros when Mexican carry became a thing. I'm gonna bring Never Enough Ammo in here. He's probably gonna take your side or something.
oh, cool. Oh, hey, so real quick.
Oh, don't, oh, cool. Never enough ammo. You didn't say that when
No,
I came
no,
in.
I wanted to talk to you first, but I was getting kind of camera shy because I've never been on a live stream before. But I mean, I've been watching you, Yank, for years. Never enough ammo. I've been watching you guys for, gosh, I mean, I'm getting old now. But since before I carried firearms, I was into both of you guys back in the old days of YouTube. Um,
That
Back
couldn't have
when
been
we,
me. I'm not old enough for that.
back when we used to fight and tell each other to fuck off all the time.
all right, yeah.
Yeah, people don't believe we used to do that all the time.
I mean, yeah. What's going on? I had a birthday party I had to go to, so I just got home.
I'm arguing with Dave about oh, I wanted to shout out too. TYM Triple P, people seriously you know, support that, fund that. I have a personal friend that you with TYM Triple P, everyone who donates to it has helped her get her first firearm ever. And she, I
That
mean,
can't be possible because it's all fake, according to some bigger
okay,
gun channels.
all right, but no, it's a great deal. I hope everyone can support it. I'm all for it. I try to spread the word as much as I can. Like I said, a personal friend who has benefited from it, and she's we went out and actually shot it. She got a Taurus from you guys, and she's still shy about how to get around to it, but still she has something that she can defend herself with, and it's all because of you guys and what you do, because she is in a hard spot right now. And so
But it
yeah,
takes time to get comfortable.
yep. And even more so than that, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. She's taking her time warming up to it, which, you know, if she was comfortable with it, you wouldn't want her going too far into it. But anyhow,
No,
never
I want
know.
them to be comfortable. I want people to take their own time. Like I always tell people, even if you know, that's why I don't like when people say things like, if you're going to carry without wanting to pipe, you might as well not carry. I'm like, well, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. Because
Yeah,
if those people in the bathroom at that nightclub had a gun with without one in the pipe, but some in the magazine, they'd still be alive today.
yeah.
So,
But to that point, absolutely to that point is kind of what I'm coming with appendix carry is skinny guys like me who just can't realistically. So I was carrying a paddle type holster. Oh, and I had a white hat holster I carried outside the waistband, and then transitioned to appendix carry because it concealed better. I could access it at all times better, and with the inherent risks that I understand and fess up to. But now I carry all the time because I carry appendix. Well, except for right now where I'm at home in my underwear.
Well, I didn't need to know that. But let's just ask this question. Just a hypothetical question here. If you weren't worried about concealing, would appendix carry still have any advantages?
No, absolutely not. If I could just open carry without at risk of being a target, without risk of being kicked out of whether establishment I'm at, where I'm with my family, extended family, whatever, we're trying to do something without making a hassle, I would open carry all the time, with the exception of if I was trying to make myself less of a hard target. If I wanted to be more gray man or incognito, then I would conceal carry and I would appendix carry. Otherwise,
well, if the biggest advantage is concealment, if you could cross draw carry by simply changing your types of shirts you wear, wouldn't that be a lot safer than appendix carry?
If you're more familiar with better cross draw holsters than I have experience with.
Well, the holster is going to be something that's very subjective, whether they work for some people and they won't work for others. But
even when you're just scouring the web, you don't see a whole lot of people making dependable hard plastic, injection molded, or Kydex holsters that are cross draw holsters. Safariland does make cantable holsters, but I don't know that they make one that's inside the waistband. I'm trying to see any.
I think it's safer to carry outside waistband my own self. And when it comes to whether you're,
I'm sorry, I don't know if you.
Well, I was going to say I always am a much bigger fan of outside waistband than inside waistband because one, it is safer. Two, it's easier to access. It's easier to draw. And three, I don't worry about things like, ooh, if someone sees a puff under my shirt,
my end of your guys' end.
You can't hear me or what?
It's got to be.
Did he freeze?
It's got to be mine.
We freeze for him.
Am I freezing?
Not for me. I can see you just fine.
Okay.
I can see both of you fine. I can see and hear both of you fine. So I don't know what's going on.
Did you hear what
I genuinely don't know what's going on. I just walked into the middle of this. So I'm thoroughly confused. Are we debating styles of carry?
Whether appendix carry is ever justifiable just because of actual advantages, or is it just because it's the way I want to do it? I think it looks cool, blah, 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 whatever. I don't care how anyone carries. I don't care if they shoot themselves in the dick, but I don't like when people misrepresent something as safe when it's not. Like I was just saying to him, I don't like inside waistband at all. You don't see me doing any inside waistband carry because it is more dangerous than outside waistband carry. And you also don't see me worried about printing because even if I print, there's nothing illegal about that now. And there's not even a single state really you'll get in trouble for that anymore. It's almost a non-existent issue anymore. Two, I don't even think people are going to notice me. And the whole thing of now you're a target because someone noticed you're printing, there's just no justification in reality for that. No risk assessment training I've ever had, no crime assessment training I've ever done. None of that has ever covered, someone covering a gun who printed became the target of someone stealing their gun. When things like that ever happen, like whenever you do see a thing of someone stole someone's gun off the person, it's usually someone that targeted them because they already knew they had it. It's usually someone they know that's unscrupulous, and it's still very, very rare. And plus, this whole notion that someone can just walk up behind you and grab your gun out of your holster. I have a video showing my son and one of his large friends and I'm just standing there with my arms crossed while they come up and try to yank my gun out of the holster from behind. They can't do it because of it's not an easy thing to do. It's harder to do it from the right position. From the wrong position, it's very hard. So I would always argue that it's probably better to adjust your habits around what's safe to do with your gun, like the way you dress, etc. And it's more safe to adjust your mindset to where you're not as worried about things you shouldn't worry about than it is to take risks with your gun that you don't have to take. Can you hear me
I
now?
mostly agree with all of that, actually. Yeah. No, I mean, I would say I don't actively rally against appendix carry as much as you do. I don't like it. I don't think it's an efficient place to carry. I do think it is inherently a little more of a dangerous position, and I don't recommend it. I don't actively have, like, if you want appendix carry, I don't really care. And I do prefer open carry by and large. I think it's easier and safer in a better position, and certainly easier to draw from and everything else. I don't have a problem with inside the waistband carry. I inside the waistband carried for years until I got to where I was essentially where you are, which is realized nobody gives a fuck. I don't need to worry about trying to conceal my gun this much. Nobody's looking at me.
Yeah,
nobody.
I'm older. Yeah, no one looks at me.
I just got to a point where I knew that it was not ever going to be an issue, and I wasn't too worried about it. And then I kind of moved on. Oh, did he leave?
He left.
Who was that, by the way? I don't know who that was.
One of my viewers. Why is Ginger Tits here?
I don't know.